Good evening, Holliston. Welcome to the Select Board meeting tonight, February 25th. Just as a note, we will be entering executive session at the conclusion of our open session meeting and not returning to open session at that conclusion. But we were going to begin our agenda. And first up, we have the Policy Advisory Committee giving us an update on what's going on with them. So please come on up.
Thank you.
Just make sure you're talking into a microphone. And if you could be so kind as to just introduce yourselves if people don't know you, or sometimes like our backs to the
Gotcha.
camera, so that way people know who's talking. We'd appreciate it. So thank you very much for coming in this evening.
Why don't you introduce first?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Mariah Kajust, and I am the Vice Chair of the Policy Advisory Committee, started back in July of 2025. I'm not only a resident, but I'm a parent of a daughter that attends the middle school, and I run a small business here in Stowe
Thank you.
in
Welcome.
Holliston. And this
Welcome.
is the chair. Thank you.
Evening, Robert Principe, Chair of Policy Advisory Committee. Yeah, I'm a resident, a grandfather, and all that stuff, and I got sore arms and shoulders too, Tina, so we're in the same boat. I think we all are, right? So we have a slide deck, and thank you so much for meeting with us so we can continue to move this forward. So besides the update, we want to get some clarification as to what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Okay.
As well as to ask for some support in a few areas. Yeah, and we need to develop a partnership around this work. Certainly with the leadership in town as well as the town as a whole. So that's why we're trying to just build this out little by slow, right? So go to the next slide, thank you. And Frank, thanks so much for getting this up there and getting it running. So just what I just said, there it is, there's the nutshell of what we're trying to accomplish here tonight. Also, if we just go to the next slide, we'll see what we got in terms of current membership. As you can see, we're 5. We've lost 2 seats that are both school committee appointees, and just as a historical piece, we've met since last March. 3 of the 5 original members are gone. My understanding initially was that one of those individuals actually did the town a favor to make it a group of 5 initially. But so therein lies one of our traction issues, right? To get enough people engaged, specifically in this particular piece of looking at town policies and procedures through a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. It's the distinctive kind of work, right? So certainly we can get into that more later on. You developed back in, let's see, you approved the overview and the purpose of this group in November of '24. And since then, we've kind of come up with something a little more like an elevator speech. Mariah, if you want to go to the next slide. Frank, please.
So although we do have the Policy Advisory Committee that was created by the board, in order for us to work together and have a foundation of what our common language is going to be, it's kind of what we put together, just like Robert said, a kind of elevator speech. So when we speak to the town, when we speak to the people that is going to be affecting, that we can just tell them basically in plain language of what we would like to do here. And so with that being said, what we wanted to add to that is more of clarity of how to move forward, because we've done some work thus far, so now we want to get from you guys clarity of how to want to move forward. And so I'm going to speak about the framework mostly, and then
I
Robert's
just
gonna speak
passed
about
out a
that.
copy of that for you all, just so you had a hard copy.
Okay, so we have the development stages. What we have done in terms of the development stages, we research other towns that has gone through similar work that we have. And the different things that we saw they were doing, and they were doing it well and efficiently, is by doing the different stages. And so you will see here, there's about 9 stages. It's not concurrent in terms of 1 through 9 altogether, but certainly some of them can be done concurrently. and we wanted to really share that with you. But before we can even go and jump in and ask the town and the different committees, we wanted to get from you guys kind of the foundation type of work. And this is really to set up a foundation of what we've done so far before we can ask from the committee what we actually need. And so what you see in front of you is the stages, and then also the drafting of the foundation in the back of the resources of what we have. So if there's any type of additional information or where the information came from, we cited the resources for you and also printed the resources for you.
So, how we got here, I guess, is the resource piece. As Mariah said, we've looked in other communities, kind of a wide variety, just through the MAPC, for example. Lynn, Massachusetts, Malden were two that we connected with, and their direct work around DEI assessment within town policies and procedures, and also came across Heinsberg, Vermont, which we're one of the next things to work on, and as you see in the stages coming up, are the rubric. They had a decent one that we're working off of. Their smaller, in a bunch of ways, same racial, ethnic demographics, basically. So some similarities in terms of who they are. And then we've had conversations in terms of committees in town, certainly members of the Vision Future Holliston, as well as the Holliston Public Schools, and specifically the Office of SEL and Equity. So we've just had initial conversations to get some materials together to begin to develop something that looks like a process and a rubric for this work. Frank, next, please.
And so in order, before we move into the clarification of what we want, I wanted to take a pause to find out if there was any questions of what we've said so far, or any clarifications that you guys might need thus far before we move on to the next section.
I have one.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to make quorum at most, where you're 5 out of 7? You should be able to, but are you having any difficulty making quorum at most of your meetings?
No, we make quorum at most of the meetings.
We everybody that's been, and again, it's only Kate and I, the original members, and since fortunate, Mariah, Jess, and Amanda have joined, but it's a dedicated bunch.
Okay.
So it's a little lonely sometimes, but yeah, people are hanging out and sticking with the work.
Great, thank you.
A point of clarification, you mentioned that you lost 2 members. Were those the
Three.
school-appointed members?
There was only one school-appointed member from the very beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. One, to be honest with you, David, I'm not sure which, but I do know
No problem.
another one of the appointees was Select Board, if I'm not mistaken, initially. And I'm not sure where the third was.
And the 2 school board ones they haven't submitted new people at this point? Or?
No, I've been in touch with Sarah, Fitzgerald, a number of times, and we had some possibilities, actually internal, which was great. But it didn't work out. Again, nobody's chomping at the bit, overall.
But also talking to Frank, because we have the talent bank too, so there might be people who could be out there that we could make some suggestions.
Absolutely.
That could be other people who might be interested in doing something that's not necessarily having to go search for people on their side. We could say, hey, here's some suggestions, here's some recommendations of people that have expressed interest.
Excellent.
That's good.
Okay.
That's very good. Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about now is our scope of work, right? So just like it says, there are a couple of things that we found that we kept going back to, where within ourselves we found to be a little bit confusing, if not confusing, but we wanted the clarification within ourselves to make sure that we were actually going to the proper course. And the next thing we want to do is kind of request your help so we can have proper course correct if needed, and proper attention from a group of from the town, so we can just say, hey, this is what we've done so far, instead of coming back here. Can somebody just come and spend like 15 minutes with us, because this is what we've done so far, so we can continue. So what does that mean for us? If you don't mind going to the next slide, is if you can read there is those last 2 sentences. The Policy Advisory Committee will review existing policies and procedures through D&I lens and make specific recommendations for improving policies and procedures to the appropriate board, committee, commission that oversees and particularly policies or procedures. But then you will find the second part says the advisory board will issue annual report to town departments and elected appointment town board, committees, and commission, and work with those groups to ensure that their policies and procedures are equitable. So what we found there is a little bit of confusion of who do we need to partner with, who do we need to really collaborate with, and then who needs to get a report to. And within ourselves, we're having some discussion, and we wanted to come back to the board to ask for that clarity. So I want to take this moment to just actually have a conversation about that. And I don't know if you wanted to add more.
Yeah, just that, this part is simple per se, is and where are departments included or not with this? We're clear on the the board, committee, and commission part. But then it says we're going to issue reports to the departments. Is that just a general report on what we found with working with boards, committees, and commissions, or does that include also doing this analysis and assessment with departments? Question mark.
What do you think?
What do I think? Most definitely it should, but I mean, quite frankly, and I'll be honest, Kathleen Buckley was very clear when she was here to say, no, this is not departments. So the only reason I say yes is because the work, and that's part of the MAPC stuff, they say it over and over again, that all of town leadership at a municipal level needs to be able to go through and see how are they doing with whatever programming or services under their domain in terms of access and equity, right? So, sure.
Well, I think one of the things sort of to keep in mind is there could be, you could sort of, I hear where you're coming from, is, we want to sort of go to the stakeholders and talk to them specifically, but then you could also make the argument is that town departments all report to boards. So going through the boards is a method of getting to those departments and working with those departments.
See, that's one of the things we needed to understand more about, even in
Yeah.
terms of governance as it's set up in town.
Yeah,
right?
and I think that's one thing. And I think it also kind of, we want you to be successful and not try to eat the whole elephant in one bite. You might have more success being able to, provide information to those boards, and then you're not trying to come up with 30 different reports.
That's right.
You're coming up with only a handful, or sort of a handful of groupings within those.
So that points to, could you go back a slide, please, Frank? Thank you.
And you guys can chime in. I'm not-
This issue of a clarification of both, well, I mean, again, I'm going to paraphrase what you're saying, Ben, as a starting point
Yeah.
of which policies and procedures, and what committees where you want us to start per se. So is there low-hanging fruit or not? That kind of thing. So now we get the clarification, the departments eventually report to boards.
Yeah.
But where do so there you go. Where do you want us to start?
What is the appetite in your committee for community engagement?
Can we just jump ahead, just Tina, in response to your question, one more? Yeah, so this is concurrent and sequential. So we're talking to you to say, hey, where do you want to start, right? Then we've got this issue of partnering with boards, committees, et cetera. And very specifically, we're very conscious of this coming off as supportive of people's advancement of access in their areas. So it's first question, where do you see opportunities to create greater access?
And
Not to say, I'm sorry.
No,
Ryan.
please
Go ahead, no, go ahead, jump in.
And I was going to add, specifically asking those boards and those committees, where do you see, it's not the approach where we're telling, it's more like, how can we support, how can we help you? And that's how we have a rubric, that we have an idea how we can come and ask the right questions. And then if they see we have this, or can we go and assess some groups of the organization, of the state, of the city, because it could be something like, this is for the businesses, and these are for the residents, and these are for this particular place of the resident, and you address them differently than you would depending which committee that we're addressing, basically. So please continue.
No, go ahead. What do you think?
Well, what I would say is, I remember Kathleen Buckley's comments and advice at the start when the Policy Advisory Committee was being formed as a charge, and then its membership was being determined. And I remember her comments about touching policy that lives within town departments. And without repeating them, I value her input. I think she was correct in her interpretation of where the Policy Advisory Committee should be focusing and where they shouldn't be focusing, and I don't disagree with her at all. So to your comments about Kathleen shared, the Policy Advisory Committee should not be in the space of town department policies for all of the reasons stated at the time, which we can go over, but I won't for the sake of time. I think that's correct.
Yeah.
I wouldn't look for that to change. I think that when it comes to boards and committees, what I feel confident about from my perspective, and it's simply that, is that there's good deliberation on policy. We have formal processes in place and open public meetings for deliberation. The outcome may not be what all hope for, but the deliberation is present and strong and thorough. I feel that we have good counsel that reviews policies. That doesn't mean it captures everything, but we have a good process, and I believe and trust in our staff that we have expertise within our staff departments. So I'm coming with that perspective, where you're asking for our feedback. Where I feel that there could be blinders are within the community. We have changing demographics. We have changing experiences among the people who live in the town, and the boards and committees, from my perspective, we don't have our finger on the pulse in all ways. So that's, for me, where I'm looking for the Policy Advisory Committee perhaps to go, is community engagement, to understand how our policy is affecting them. What are their experiences, and sifting through those, and then starting to turn the view that you have back to the policies that we have in the town, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yes.
That's where I feel that we may have a blind spot.
So you're suggesting, and I'd like to hear what both of you all thinking over there as well.
Yep.
We start, as I said, this is somewhat sequential and or concurrent, and you're suggesting, Tina, that we start with the community to inform policies as they currently exist. Given that information, we have sample, and we could read you some questions that would be part of this. We got directly from MAPC, questioning for the community about the quality of life, essentially, right? Again, we're very, very conscious of making this a partnership. We're very, very conscious of asking people what they think, and where we can improve.
Yes.
Because some of my experience in this work is too often people automatically assume it's punitive. You know, we're trying to catch someone not doing something that should be happening, right? But that's a cultural issue, right? And as we know, there's a tenor out there in the country as a whole that's not very favorable of this work, and it just blends in with no matter where you are. So I hear your thought. Ben or Damon, you want to add anything to this idea of where to start and how to do this?
I'm happy to jump in a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like what Tina's got in mind as well. I do think it's circular, right? I think getting community engagement first, and then as we go through the process, coming back to the community with suggestions is part of that loop. I like your thinking so far on, where should the engagement happen with government. I do think that, thinking back to Ms. Buckley's thoughts, she did want, I believe we were saying at the time that the information should potentially flow to departments so they have access to it.
For review,
But-
sure.
Right, for
Yep.
review. So I just want to clarify that. It's, that information should be at the disposal to pretty much anyone who wants it. Yeah, so it's not a completely cordoned off section. It's more one-way flow.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Ben, what do you think?
And I think Tina touched on something I think is important, is that community engagement. And I think what I'd like to see is you going to where they are. And really, and I think, your role could be twofold. Part of it could be educational, understanding what the work is. Because I think one of the things that I think is troublesome about some of the rhetoric you hear in other spaces about this type of work is that they think it's about a certain group of people.
That's right.
And there's a lot of people who benefit from this. You know, you can point to, like, you know, people with disabilities. You can point to veterans. You know, mothers. You can, like, it's a very broad and inclusive work, and I think I think one of the things that I would love to see, I don't want to put too much on your plate in that sense, but I'd love to see you trying to meet people where they are, educate them, and so they understand what the work really is and what's about, because I think once people hear some of those things, they go, oh yeah, of course I want to support that, and it's not, and then I think that those kinds of things can take it to the next level. And so I'd love to see that community engagement. You know, I met with the center director today, and we were talking about some different things, and, you know, going over there to talk to people, you know, there's the Dull Man's Club, there's, you know, different groups that they may feel like, hey, what is this? I want to understand, and I think this is an opportunity to get some of that input and get some of that buy-in from some of the community that may not necessarily feel like this is, that feels it's not for them, but it is. And I think that we need to remember that as we look at this work. And one more thing. And I think the other thing I'd you know, when it comes to talking to those, you know, partnering with the boards and committees, I think that's a great idea. And I think, you know, going to talk to them and, you know, and hearing what they think, I think is really valuable. And then as you sort of process this information, being able to sort of come back and say, okay, we sort of see where the low-hanging fruit is, this is where we want to emphasize, you know, and we do those things, and then people see you and start to understand, and then, you know, they're stopping you at Coffee Haven and saying, hey, I want to talk to you about, and, you know, suddenly those things start happening. I think that has a lot of value too, as being members of the community, so. Please.
2 comments. One is, I think what we ought to do, Ben, Damon, see if you agree on this, is a future agenda item, and it could be quick work, is to create a select board liaison to the policy advisory committee. We don't currently have one. And so if we put that on a future agenda, we could appoint somebody, as we generally do.
Is that you raising your hand?
I will, that's fine. Yeah, of course. But we normally do it in June after the town elections.
Okay.
And I don't know that you guys were fully active at that point, so we just didn't capture it then. So I think we'd want to pull it out before June, or it could wait until June and we could do it
You do it
then.
the next meeting and just sort of
Okay.
say, like, you know, let's have that
perfect.
So
conversation.
that fits into one of our requests. I don't know.
slide.
I forgot. Go ahead. Yeah. So Ben, you hit on it, this piece that you know, to inform people, to counter any misinformation, as including, I'm just saying because it's out there, this is zero sum. Somebody else is going to get something. I'm gonna lose something. I'm going to lose. Somebody else is going to get. Okay, that's the worst case scenario. When in truth, greater health and well-being for more of us, not just some of us, no matter where it is about the viability of that environment, and that includes
helps all of us.
future viability of Holliston. So we're only. I mean, for example, I was thrilled to see the upcoming small business diversity event that's taking place in March. That's fantastic, right? So it's again the future of Holliston, all of us, right? And we need to keep talking about that over and over again, wherever chance we can. So along those lines, we'd like to request a time slot at the town meeting in May, to be able to do a little bit of kind of like, you know, education / awareness / PR, so we can say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and start spreading the word.
We get requests like that often, and it's always a good idea, right, to bring an effort like this to town meeting. Town meeting is a complicated machine. I'm wondering if you would consider, in the lobby as people come in, we've done this on a number of different things, where you want to broach an idea with the community, you want to get feedback. As an example, HDAC, Holliston Drug and Alcohol Awareness Coalition, in October, they had a survey that they wanted to promote with the community. And they used the lobby because everybody has to come through, everybody has to register to go into town meeting, and they set up space out in the lobby, and people could come over and get information, take the survey if they wanted to. That may be a first step, if I don't want to jump ahead of Ben and Damon on their thoughts, but I'm just thinking that in my opinion, you might be reaching too far soon to go in front of town meeting with the presentation. You might want to take the lobby space as an opportunity to engage with folks, share information, get feedback, and then a future town meeting come back about a presentation. That's just my 2 cents.
So two-stage kind of thing, essentially?
Yeah,
I think to start for sure with take the time as people are checking in for the ability to share your information, share what you're doing, and get feedback as well.
And I would say, like, to Tina's point, I think you're better if you have a particular ask for town meeting. I think we could have the conversation, but I think where you are, you're probably going to get more just by putting yourselves out there, so people know who you are, know what's going on, and being able to hear some feedback and some things, have that listening opportunity in that kind of an audience, I think would be beneficial. And then down the road, we can look at and say, okay, now we have something, because right now you're kind of, still trying to get your feet under you, and I think getting in front of town meeting to say that, I don't think will have as much impact as actually saying this is what we're finding, this is what we're doing, and actually like talking specifically about those things, which might be better suited for October or the following May, and now could just be like you're listening.
Do you have a website?
Just the town,
Yeah.
Website and anything we would post on our own page, which we haven't done anything so far except agendas, minutes.
One thing we did with the HDAC survey is, I believe in the select board message presentation, somewhere it was shared out on the screen. Maybe we had it as people were coming into their seats, we had the QR code. So when you sat down, the screen was already up and ready.
Yeah.
As you sat down in your chair, you could take a screenshot.
Okay.
Gosh, I sound
But
old.
I think the only thing I want to be careful about is, I think there's other groups that want to do the same thing.
No, I know.
So I don't
I'm
want to.
sharing ideas.
It's not that I
yeah.
don't think it's a great idea. It's just I want to be careful because it's like I'm hearing
Everybody
that from a
want-
couple
yeah,
other
right.
groups, and maybe we can find ways to sort of economize. Like if Envisioning Future Holliston had something like that,
Sure,
and then
sure.
it can also, hey, on there it can also pivot to you, like that kind of thing. So that way we're not trying to overdo it. Oh, didn't I already do this? That kind of thing that we might.
Yeah, I think it was a way also for us to officially let people know that you might see us around town now.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is what we do. This is what PAC is all about. So when we go to Holliston Day or when we do
Right.
different things, you'll see us and you're like, oh yes, I recognize what they're doing.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so that was our idea, is to like officially put us out. Although I really like that. I really like being in the lobby and we can have actual conversation.
And you'd be sitting. You're
But
probably
it
standing
was,
right next to HDAC. Jackie and Zoe, who know everybody too, and they can be just
Introducing us
Yeah,
as well.
introducing you as part of that conversation.
Damien, is there anything you want to add? in
Nothing
terms of that?
substantive. I'm kind of in line with these two.
Yeah. It's just me. It's just like, two town meetings a year. It's like, oh my God, there's just so little time and space to get in front of the community, So that's why we were thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
I hear this is what we do, and here's some of the results we found
Yeah.
as a next step. So, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
they're in charge anyway. So
One way to frame this would be that the business of town meeting is what the time in town meeting is all about. The business is the warrant.
yes.
When we have presentations during town meeting, we have a warrant article that calls for that presentation, and it's typically tied to articles that are also in the warrant or are coming at a future town meeting. Just a flow. So if we'll have the school committee this year in May, right? Do a presentation to town meeting because we anticipate that they will be back in front of town meeting with a funding request for a feasibility study for the new high school. And so that's kind of the flow. So I think where we're not looking at a request of town meeting from the PAC to put you in front of town meeting might be premature, if that makes sense. And I'm just talking about in terms of the structure for any presentation to town meeting, not the PAC in general.
So I understand. I mean,
Specifically.
I'm fairly new to town
Right,
meetings
right, yeah,
myself.
it's an unusual
Uh,
process.
So I guess I'm trying to understand when this group has set up PAC, is there, and they've told the town, doesn't the town want to know what we're doing? Doesn't the town
Sure.
would like to get like, hey, back in 2024, we set up this group. This is who they are. This is what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, how do they now know we voted for this? They voted for this, or we, thank you for voting for this. But
Well-
this is what we've done so far, and how does that then flow back to our residents?
But I think where we can do that is, I can put it in my presentation. This is the PAC. Did you see them out in the hallway? Please
Okay.
make sure that you said hello to them. These are their members.
Okay.
And this is the work that they're doing, and, that can be a way to get,
Okay. That's good.
to incorporate it in a way that's, that gets you to be, because I think this is introductory, and I think this is your
That's true.
opportunity to be introduced, and we can certainly do that. We can serve in that role.
Okay, good.
A couple of tactile kind of things, I never use that word right, but I just get yelled at home, but anyway. So if a particular board, committee, or otherwise does not have any policies or procedures related to DEI, do you want us to provide templates, help them develop them? Question mark.
Well,
That's
I
not
think
on that
to-
list.
well, I'd say first ask them, talk
Yeah,
to
sure,
them
sure,
about it,
sure.
because it's, we certainly have our, our purview, but, if you're talking to somebody who's a duly elected board and you notice something like that, talk to them and work through them first.
Yeah, I mean, we work with them, period.
Right, and so I would say, don't tell us, tell them, and
No,
work with
certainly,
them,
certainly.
and see how that, where that goes, and then, whatever support you need from us or from other members of the community, we can have that
Thank you.
conversation if you need it.
And then, Tina, I heard you recommend it because we had said be able to regularly engage the select board, so we can keep in touch, and then you want a liaison that, so that pretty much would cover that, correct, right?
Yep.
The first thing you talked about in terms of the vacancies is this talent bank, so that's fabulous.
We'll look at that, yeah.
And then, this goes back to Kathleen again, my understanding was that besides the regular municipal governance kind of trainings that all boards are available to all boards, that there was a DEI focused training that was in process coming out of HR, and there was the wait until, Cheryl, you became part of our group, et cetera, to be able to get that rolling again. Frank, we talked about that a little bit. Yeah, I mean, we have our own expertise. We want to continue to develop that. We want it to be part of what anybody who's involved in administration of the town can access to be able to inform folks about this. I don't know where, so my question is, where is all that?
So last week or 2 weeks ago, Cheryl and I had a call with equity inclusion specialists, knowing that they had done similar work, that work being training for municipal officials and board and committee members. It was either in Andover or North Andover, you have to forgive me, one of those Andover towns. It was Andover.
Yes.
And so we had a quick conversation with them. They understood our needs. We talked a lot about the strategic plan and the goals that Holliston had set for itself in this space. So they actually had just followed up with Cheryl and I with a sort of, they called it a menu of options. Some of those options are training for not external, but non-employees, volunteer board and committee members. Some of those trainings would be specific to employees. So now that we have that proposal, Cheryl and I have been just going back and forth on, scheduling, what's going to make sense calendar-wise.
great.
We'd like to get it in before June 30th because we do have funding for it this year, so we want to make sure that we make the most of that. So hopefully we'll have an update on that soon.
Thank you. So PAC appointments are June to June, and I only know this because Jess Hammond, who just joined us, said, look, they're telling me I'm done in June. I think that's the yearly kind of appointment
Yeah,
thing.
you re-up. Basically,
Yeah.
what happens is that every June 30, you get a letter from the town manager's office saying, your appointment is up, would you like to renew? And generally,
Right.
people say, yes, absolutely, but every once in a while, somebody says no, but that gives you an opportunity, sort of an easy way to look at it.
Again, kind of like these nuts and bolts kind of things. So one of the best parts about what Holliston has been doing since the development of the strategic plan is having this in the strategic plan.
Mhm.
And the formation of this group came out of that. The kind of, then the other side of the coin was that, the objective under the DEI goal in the strategic plan, I'm reading it now, was to, create this independent advisory group that was gonna review town policies and procedures through a DEI lens. And we were gonna be done by October 2024.
Not quite there.
Long pause. And ensure and evaluate our policies for equity by June 2025. So, I mean, I've seen this many times before. People get aspirational, and then when it gets to the nuts and bolts of pulling this stuff off, it doesn't happen in 5 minutes, right? So, all that to say, I'm assuming this is now a question, that you see this group as ongoing. PAC is going to be around, I mean, what's our time frame? That's the other thing, clarification regarding deliverables and time frame. That's the last question there.
Well, I don't think the town of Holliston right now is in the business of ending committees. We seem to continually form
When I
them.
think of-
So I don't think there's
Yeah.
any chance that we're going to look to end a policy advisory committee.
Yeah, I think you're, yeah, I don't see it ending anytime soon, if at all. I never say never. But I would say, what I would say like about that, and then I would say when it comes to like deliverables, is that right now I think you're in listening mode, you're trying to get your feet under you. I would hope that by May of 2027, you would have an annual report for town meeting. And then, then there's a conversation about how does that get presented to the town? How does that information get brought forward? And I think that, to me, is a reasonable thing. And that doesn't mean you have to do 1,000 things. It doesn't mean you have to analyze 10 departments. It just, or, boards or whatever. Just talking about what is the work you're doing, what is working, what's not working, and how, what can we do better, different, anything like that.
Appreciate that.
That's how
Thank
I
you.
feel.
That's helpful, that's very helpful. Do you have any other questions?
No, that's good. I think one of the things that we talked about is, if need be, would there be a budget for us to do certain things, to reach out to the community? Obviously, there's currently 5 of us, there's gonna be 7, but there'll be some things where, I was saying something like, oh, well, we can go to, Holliston Day, I forget what the technical term is for it now, but, we can have a table and maybe have some things where we tell people about the PAC and what they would want, have a survey, but that would recommend, having some level of budget, printing or different things like that. And we're not asking for money right now because we don't know how much we need, but we would like to be able to come back to say, this is what we've done and we do need a budget for X, Y, and Z. Is that feasible, or do we need to look at the constraints of financially you don't have it, but maybe other resources? And resources doesn't have to be financial in nature. It could be a professional resource, consulting, one of you guys coming in, and that's what I'm asking about resources. Currently, we want to just have clarification, but we probably would like to come back and ask for the proper resources once we have declared.
I think when it comes to budget, we'll listen to anything. That doesn't mean, because there is a process that I'd have to go through, probably the finance committee will chime in, probably town meeting would be appropriating if we're talking about that kind of an avenue. But what I would say is that, it's not a blank check. It's more like, hey, we need $1,000 to do this. And that's really, so, pull together those kinds of things, look out there. If there's trainings, if there's different kinds of things, inquire, talk to the HDAC, Youth and Family Services, because they're often doing those kinds of things. How are they funding, those kinds of things to sort of see, are there other avenues, are there other options available beyond appropriation, which can be cumbersome even if it's forthcoming. So, so that's my 2 cents. I don't know if you guys had anything to add there, but I pull together what you need before, we can have the conversation and sort of look at it, but also look at alternative means and see if there's anything else out there.
Yeah, that's fair.
How you doing?
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
I'm good.
How you doing?
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
And so the ongoing, certainly, and we'll keep, coming and reporting back, and thank you for being willing to
Sure.
have the liaison piece and
Yeah.
keep supporting this. And I don't know, I pretty clearly, hear that you understand this is very much a work in progress.
Very much so.
Totally.
And, but we want to do it right, and we want to build engagement. And again, I'm going to just repeat the one thing we said earlier, is we're going to do a lot of providing opportunities to be, for people, whether it's in town or on committees, to be empowered by the information they already have. They know what their experience is and their experience isn't. We just got to get to people that
Yeah.
might not necessarily feel that they're included in that conversation. That's going to be the challenging part.
It's tricky.
So to be continued.
Sounds good.
Thank you for coming in.
We really
Thank you so
appreciate
much
you
for hearing us.
talking to us, and if there's anything else you need from us, certainly reach out to one of us or Frank or.
We're going to always
And,
bug Frank.
Tina, your liaison. I'm
Look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Thank you both.
But yeah, we'll
Thank
set
you
our
so much.
liaison. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
It just, I was just gonna let you know. I know you were recording. It's fine. It's just these recordings are posted too, so you don't have to. You'd be able to go back and watch it tomorrow.
It's a steady hand for 45 minutes.
I know the feeling.
I like to have my own little personal, but
Totally.
certainly I
That's-
can use some of your public
Yeah,
resources.
No problem.
that's another option if you can't hear something
Yeah.
or something. That's
Thank
that's
you.
too. So thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
very much.
Have
Take
a
care.
wonderful
Good
evening.
About that. Oh, all right.
All right. Give them a moment to.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, so now we are on to talking about wellhead protection bylaw, and we have, and I saw Barbara Peedy on the call, and I think she is the chair of the subcommittee. She's certainly the chair of the committee. Can we get the okay, Frank, or just to click OK,
Oh, the
so
okay.
just so we can see the people that are on the top there,
Yep.
and then we can.
And
pop
I'm just going
of
to X out of this.
the presentation.
Yep.
I'm not trying to put her on the spot, but
No,
I know she was
so
there, 'cause she
it's
said she mentioned to me that she is the chair of the subcommittee, and I think that's it. Thank you. All right. Great.
I do have, it looks like someone's trying to, I don't know if they're trying to raise their hand for the last second.
Carol, did you want to say something about what we just did? All right, you can unmute and just name and address.
Oh, we can't
Uh-oh,
hear.
we can't hear you. I don't know, why?
Oh, a little.
Oh, did you get, volume for the bottom? Is it muted on the, there we go. Try now?
Am I trying now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so what I have to say tonight will take maybe 3 minutes, and I'm 89 and I'm failing.
Okay,
So, I don't know how long, I don't want to be knocked off the agenda. I'm happy to wait to the end, as long as I know I'm to get on tonight.
yeah, you absolutely will. We're gonna have public comment after this
I
item.
don't go ahead of anyone, you know, I want to stay in my line. but
Okay.
I just wondered if, I don't want to get knocked off.
No, we're not gonna knock you off. We'll make sure,
All right,
Carol, thank you.
very much. Thank you.
All right, okay, so the wellhead protection bylaw. All right. We have Amelia, our sustainability coordinator. Wonderful to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
You're,
Good to be back.
you're staying warm and not too snowed in.
I'm trying. Last time I had a burst pipe, so hopefully this time everything goes over fine.
Good luck.
Thank
So,
you.
you have an update for us about wellhead protection?
Yes, so starting in the fall, we assembled the Wellhead Protection Bylaw Subcommittee of the Envisioning Future Holliston Committee to hopefully get our sort of groundwater protection regulations up to the same standard as similar surrounding towns.
Okay.
And for the past several months, we have been convening myself, our conservation agent, our town planner, the Conservation Commission chair, as well as the planning board chair, and a handful of other interested volunteer residents to go through a process that basically evaluates the status of other towns' wellhead protection bylaws and compares them to the status of ours and sees what we could make stronger, what theirs have that ours don't. I don't know how aware you are of the status of our current bylaw, but
Out of date.
yeah, the thing that makes ours slightly unique from others is that while all towns have a Zone 1, which is a certain radius around the well, and a Zone 2, which is usually set by Mass DEP, we have a Zone 1A, which was established back in the 80s, 90s with a well pump test, and it's unknown to what extent, like how accurate that is. So in order to make sure that all of these regulations are, fair and appropriate and, hopefully relevant, we're considering a couple of different avenues for how we want to move forward in what these new proposed regulations actually cover, whether it's for specific zones or whether it's a groundwater protection district that covers all of the land area of those 3 zones. So that's currently one of the things that we'd like a little bit of input on. And then also, we have narrowed it down to 4 or 5 actions that are present on most other similar towns in terms of population and have well, have sewer, things like that, that we don't have but might not be that heavy of a lift. We reviewed within those spaces if we would be, causing any undue burden to, prevent certain things from being cited, but obviously grandfathering the previous regulations so that we're not, imposing that undue burden on current businesses. So I'm willing to answer any questions you have about that as well, but that list of possible future regulations is still very much just a recommendation, and we haven't actually put together any draft language for it or anything yet.
So I have 2 questions.
Yep.
The first is that does the state have any particular language that we should use or statutes that would inform some of this work?
That's how we actually started our review, and there are certain regulations that the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection has as part of the format of a model bylaw when it comes to defining what a Zone 1 or a Zone 2 is. But for the most part, it really does seem to be up to municipalities on how stringent they want theirs to be. There's no, to my knowledge, there's no standards that have been set out of you absolutely may not, prohibit or permit this in your town.
Okay.
And obviously anything that someone had a, big problem with could be, legally adjudicated through the state, but in our research, we didn't really stumble across any other towns who had an issue with that or anything like that.
Okay. And then my second question here is your expectation that you would have some kind of proposal in May? Or are you thinking October? Or kind of where are you at with a product?
There's basically 2 options, obviously May and October, but why? If we had something prepared for May, it would have to be the draft language for just a bylaw that essentially we wouldn't have had time to do the engagement for. We wouldn't have time to reach out to the community and especially reach out to people who are in those affected zones and see if, for example, there was anyone who was like, I was about to put a gas station there, or things like that.
Sure.
Another advantage of potentially doing it in October is, in addition to just having it kind of be like a full year of making sure that time for all seasons, everyone's had their eyes on it,
Yep.
is also that there is currently a round of state climate resilience grants called the Eco One-Stop Grants, which is a package of 6 grants that you can kind of just apply for all in one, and they'll allocate you to the one that they think most suits you or that they have available funding for. And on that list, there are about 2 or 3 grants that would allow us to have the funding not only for that public engagement, but also to potentially do some groundwater quality tests,
some technical
and
assistance,
water table
engineering.
tests, mapping, things like that,
Okay.
that might, better, educate, if we do create a protection district versus going with the zones we have now. So.
Okay. I think, and I personally, I would say, I think this is important. I think it's something that we should be doing. I would rather see us wait and get it right than rush and get something that's premature that needs more work. We already have to do the work, so let's get it right before
For sure.
we do. So that's my opinion. So, Dean, any comments?
Yeah, for sure. I think if there's grant funding out there to do a deeper dive, no pun intended, is there a pun there? I'm not sure. But if there's grant funding out there, particularly in the community engagement and data collection, which it sounds like there is, that seems like a very smart step to take. I am interested in, this is a complete lack of knowledge on my part, you talk about a protection district or perhaps further refinement or definition of our existing zones. Have you explored any impact that potentially could have on ongoing efforts the town has by way of a sewer district? We have a 40B proposal. We have several 40B proposals. There's another project I'm thinking of that's escaping me right now, but let's really focus on the downtown sewer. I don't know my maps well enough, but I have a feeling some of the Zone 1A, 1A, 2 probably interact with where we're also considering a district. So has anyone explored potential impacts, here's the pun, downstream?
We've thought informally about it, but we haven't had the opportunity to look at what other towns have encountered when it comes to this.
Yeah.
I will say that housing doesn't show up in any of the regulations, so not in terms of like
Okay.
a certain amount of impervious cover or anything like that. As long as they adhere to the current regulations, there shouldn't be anything that would be added with this that
Okay.
would prevent any of that kind of development. On the other hand, if we do want to pursue potentially like remapping, that would honestly just be more data that would be helpful to getting a more accurate estimate for, the sewer district. Anything that, transitions us away from like individual septic systems to like a wastewater
Sure,
treatment
sure. Is beneficial.
is beneficial
Yeah, sure.
and, is removing a hazard to the groundwater protection district or,
Okay.
the areas that we're concerned
Yeah,
about.
that's a good point.
Have you talked to sewer commission, or, I mean, because the engineer there has done a lot of, Peter Lombardo's done a lot of work on different things along those lines, and might have,
Oh, you might have some professional
some might have
experience
a little
that
bit
he
of
could share with
professional,
you.
like mapping and things like that when it comes to at least that part of town, the sewer district and things like that.
Yeah.
And certainly the effluent that's coming from it, like where it would go and things
Mhm.
like that, and how that could impact
Yeah, I mean,
what you're doing.
just I've spoken with it, casually with like James and things like that.
Right.
But one of the things that we want to make sure we do as part of that engagement is before we even go to the public with this, make sure that we do an internal review that all the department heads
Yeah,
get their eyes on
yeah.
it, and
Sure.
every board committee, anyone
Yeah,
who
yeah.
wants to be satisfied with it. And that's kind of the number one person to go to, that in the water department.
I was just
So-
gonna say, I'm glad to hear that, because
Yeah.
that would be the other impact, that
Exactly.
the one that I wasn't able to name a moment ago, would be
Mhm.
that our water supply
Yes.
needs to be considered serious, of course.
Mhm.
Okay.
One thing is you look forward when you actually start to get kind of your story together and the idea of what you want to propose. I'm always kind of personally interested in understanding any internal debates that are happening as part of that. If it's just kind of a homework ask, it helps me understand kind of how you got to where you are. That narrative is very useful to me in the future.
Sure.
Cool.
I mean, I can share right now, we are
Yeah.
chums, there's something that no one's at each other's throats, but I also think that through this process, I'm excited to hear more of what the community has to say. Since I'm relatively new to this position, I'm not a Holliston resident, like I don't have a lot of experience with the community itself, so I'm excited to speak to people who have lived here their whole lives and have seen the ups and downs, and people who have more personal connections to the concerns that are being raised, so that I can hopefully, incorporate those in a meaningful way rather than just doing it because it seems like Medfield is doing it or something like that.
Right,
Yeah, I think along that line, I think, having those community conversations, because there's nothing more frustrating, I can say from experience, than getting to town meeting thinking everything's great, and
Yeah.
then you get people who are asking questions that why didn't I hear this
Mhm.
over the past year that I've been working on this?
Yeah.
So I think there's, and the other group, when we get economic development coordinators, like talking to some businesses and things like that, and
Mhm.
how this impacts them, and then what they think about some of these kinds of things, I think will be, another data point to consider.
Yeah.
I have another question. You mentioned the ECO grant program.
Mhm. Eco One Stop.
Thank you.
They're coming up with new names for
I know.
stuff all the time.
It's like, I know, one stop for, okay.
There's one stop for work.
Does the grant timeline cycle work for October?
It does.
Okay.
So the grant is currently open. It will close on the 10th. It's the March 10th.
Yep.
I'm currently working on one for Sherburne and another one for Holliston,
Okay.
and I'm fairly confident I could, pull this one off as well.
Okay.
It doesn't require a lot of input up front, and depending on which grant they sort us into, that will have different requirements for, the reporting or things like that. All of them are either 1 year or 2 year grants. So regardless of where it spits us out, it will be awarded in time for us to do meaningful work with it.
Okay.
And then there will be another 6 months of grant funding after that, which might be useful in case, God forbid, like it gets voted down at fall town meeting and we need to do more data or, things like that.
And we've said this before as a board, as long as Frank is reviewing the application before it goes in, that
Mhm.
satisfies the board,
Yeah.
It doesn't need to come back, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think that's
Yeah,
how
no,
we
I don't,
kind of left it, it doesn't need to come
just
back
making
to
sure
us.
that he knows about it,
Yep.
because we had two different groups applying for the same grant, and
Mhm.
Frank chimed in, and I'm not
And-
saying that it would happen, but.
Different bodies are allowed to apply for this within the town of Holliston, hence why I'm also doing this in addition to another one for invasive species management, so.
Lake
yeah.
Winthrop?
Actually, no, the golf course.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Talk to
Very
James
nice.
about it.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
Okay.
Per usual, fantastic, thank you.
Amelia, thank you so much for
Thanks,
all the
Amelia.
work you're doing, and we really appreciate it.
Of course.
We will talk again soon.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Barb, anything to add?
I don't think so. She didn't come on, so I don't think she is. That's okay. You can hear from her if we need to. All right, moving on. We are on to public comments. Carol, this is your opportunity. I'm just gonna put you at the front of the line because you already said something. So if you want to unmute yourself, just give us your name and address, and then you can give us your comment. And then anyone else who wants to give public comment this evening, just raise your hand using under the reaction button. It's the reaction button, right? Okay.
My name is Carol Howley. I live at 78 Briarcliff Lane. I've been here since 1981.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so I am here tonight to get permission to have a gathering at Blair Square on April 25th. I represent the House and Garden Club. Every year we have an Arbor Day tree that we plant in the town. We've been doing this since, I think, 1957. Some years we might have missed. So this year we want to have a celebration of John Thomas's life as we plant the tree. Do you know who John Thomas is, people?
Even if we do, it would be wonderful to educate us and anyone else on the call who has not heard of John Thomas.
Okay, well, he was a very active member of our town and did a lot of positive things for the rail trail and other things that had to do with trees and plantings and so on in town. He lived here for many, many years, and then he retired, and he and Kathy moved to Florida and Rhode Island, and he died recently.
Okay.
So Kathy was a member and still is a member of our garden club, so we thought we would do this in his honor because he was a well-known person. So all we want to do is have permission to plant a tree in Blair Square. I've been in touch with Amy Daniels about where to do it and what kind of a tree to plant, and she has made a suggestion of a Nisa sylvatica, which is a lovely tree.
Okay.
So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to plant that. The gathering will probably be from 12 to 2, something like that. We'll come and set up a table with some cookies and water, and then there'll be a few speeches, and we'll water the tree. The tree will already be planted by the town. I'm also asking permission for the town to dig the hole and plant the tree for us. That would be very good. Because we're a bunch of old ladies now, you know. It's hard for us to do that. So that is why I'm here, is to get permission for us to hold the gathering. I don't know if we need to have police there for us. It's not going to be a dangerous group, but I'm not sure how you do that. That's up to you. We're not asking for that.
I think the only thing I would contact Frank in the town manager's office, and it might be Parks. We'll just go through Frank. Just go through the town manager's office to make it simple.
because they have a calendar for Blair Square, just to make sure, yeah, there's like I think there's like a sheet that you fill out to make sure, like, hey, this is our slot, just so that way no one else takes it from you,
Yeah,
and
she
things like
said
that.
she's done that.
Yeah, I talked to them on the phone. They
Okay.
said, we got you down to the date, your time, go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're fine with it. I think, we don't have an agenda item, so we have nothing really to vote on.
Yeah.
But-
Carol, do you have a phone number I can reach you at tomorrow?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a phone number I can reach you at tomorrow?
Like, let's,
sure.
don't
Oh, yeah, sorry,
don't give
sorry.
it on the.
Yeah,
here.
sorry, that was my bad.
Just like, Carol, we just don't want, because this is an open meeting and people are going to hear it and it's going to be recorded, and we don't want your phone number out there. How
about this? I'll give you mine.
Yeah, call the town manager's office.
I think the town manager's office has my phone number and my email already. I've been in
Okay.
touch with them
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
to set this up. But, Michelle, how shall I get that to you? sir?
I'm sending an email to both of you right now,
Okay,
Carol.
all right.
I've got your email address, and I'm going to connect you by
Okay.
email with Frank, and you guys can take it from there.
Yeah.
Off camera.
Yeah, you take it from there, and, we support it. I don't even think, I think actually, because it's not an alcohol license, I think you can approve it yourself, and I don't
Yeah.
think you need to. I think it's a great idea. Let us know when it's, if you have any flyers or anything like that, we can make sure it gets published, and we can advertise it for you too. And Tina's got some comments that she wants to share as well.
We will be advertising and we will be sending you invitations to all of you.
Thank you.
2 questions for you, Carol. Have you talked to James Keast about where it would go? Do you have the location all set?
Yes, Indy showed us where she wants the tree to go.
If you would just share that with Frank when you guys exchange phone numbers so that he.
I can't describe it
Oh,
because I don't know how to do that, but if you want to talk to Indy Daniels, she was
Yeah.
already, I think it's right next to the other Misa Sylvatica.
Okay.
And close to the, what do you call the thing where the band goes.
Pavilion, sure.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
close to that.
Okay.
But other than that, I can't describe the location any better.
No worries. Second thing, because we are a Tree City USA town now, we're supposed to read the proclamation every year.
Yes.
Do you want that at the April 25th event?
Yes,
Okay.
we definitely do.
Okay.
And we would love you to do it, Tina.
Well, I'm sure Damon would do a better job, so let's not forget him.
Can you do it in German?
I can do it in German. It'll be delightful for everyone.
I want you to come, and anybody who wants to read that is welcome, and say any words you want to say. Everybody is welcome to say whatever they want at this event.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
Carol.
Thank you, Carol. And just hopefully the snow is all melted by the time you get to April 25th.
There's a chance.
We're hoping. We're hoping.
Do I have permission then from you?
It's actually, Frank's actually the one that gives permission, and I don't see any reason why you would not have permission. You might just need something a little more formal, but I can't imagine there'd be a reason not to.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be any reason to say no, so I can either, I'll plan to follow up tomorrow after Tina connects us. This would actually,
I am not going to be home tomorrow,
okay,
so just so you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going tomorrow, but Friday I should be around.
okay,
Thank you, Carol.
sounds great.
Really appreciate it. Okay.
I appreciate you.
Have a wonderful day. Stay warm.
Take care.
Thank you.
Good night, have a good evening.
Bye, Carol.
Bye-bye.
All right, Dr. Tyler, I see your hand is raised. We've missed you. Please unmute yourself and name and address, and you can give us your public comment this evening.
I'm so glad you missed me. Dr. Liz Tyler, 17 New Orleans Street, here in Holliston. I first have a question for the speaker who talked about the protection bylaws for the wellhead. And I'm not sure if I understood her correctly, but DEP does have groundwater supply protection regulations, and it's 310 CMR 22.21.
Okay.
And so there definitely are DEP. Someone asked the question if there were state regulations, and there definitely are state regulations.
Yeah, I think, I think the intention here is beyond
Yes,
the
to
state
go
statute.
Yes, to go beyond, but maybe I misunderstood her. I thought she said there were no state regulations.
Oh, no, I don't.
Maybe, I think what she meant is that there's no state, the state regulations don't tell us how we have to write some of our bylaws about the wellhead protection.
Okay.
I think that was that's what the way I interpreted what she said.
Okay, okay. And I'm sorry, but could I ask you her name? I didn't get it.
It's Amelia
Landau.
Landau. Yeah.
Landau.
She's our
I'm sorry,
sustainability coordinator.
What is her, what is her first name?
Amelia, Amelia.
Uh-huh.
Her last name is Landau, Landau.
She's the sustainability coordinator in Holliston and Sherburne.
And her email's online as well. And phone number.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. All right, so, now to my public comment.
Sure.
Okay. The Purdue University Engineering Department stated in a study that 1 gallon of gasoline can contaminate 1 million gallons of water. And I sent you, all of you, that study so you can see that quote directly. The January 23rd, 2026 letter from DEP to the applicant concerning 194 Lowland Street wrote, and I quote, "Several test pits witnessed by Mass DEP had a strong oil odor and staining. Further, there was a leaking underground storage tank or storage tank spill on the property. I urge you as overseers of the water department to act to protect our water supply and voice your concerns publicly and to the zoning board. The water department cannot stay silent as a project is proposed on documented past contamination and present contamination, as well as on the documented very shallow aquifer of less than 20 feet for 70% of our drinking water. With your action, we can protect our drinking water." That's the end of my comment. I have one question also.
Sure.
I would like to know how I can obtain the number of gallons of water that DEP allows Holliston to pump.
It's our permit.
Yeah, Dr. Tyler, I think Sean was a little bit delayed, and he had a emergency up at the high school, but he literally just emailed us back within the past hour. It is 1.16 million gallons per day. That's our permitted amount.
1.16 million
Yes.
per day.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the DEP,
Yes.
that's the DEP limit, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I just need to do my calculation, so I may come back. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay. Any other public comment this evening? Raise your hand if you're on the Zoom. I don't think Tom and the Chief are going to say much to us. All right. I'm not seeing any other hands. What happened here? And I think we can move on to select member updates. Move on to the next item on the agenda. All right. Tina, any
Sure.
any updates for us?
I have 4 updates and 1 request. First update is I joined the Friends of the Holliston Trails on this week, their regular meeting, and they had a presentation from Mike Carvalho, who is the resident backing the bike park
Yep.
project, and so he was providing a lot of information. I just wanted to update this board. So not only are they are making a request for funds from the Friends of, and the Friends of are considering a $10,000 donation to their crowdsource funding effort. They were also in front of the CPC for a very preliminary conversation about CPC funds, so we should anticipate in May of this year seeing an article, the CPC article, including the bike park project. So that is moving forward. Happy to answer any questions if you want details, but glad to see that moving forward. I met with Frank and the chief of police, and one lieutenant, one sergeant, one officer were in the room about a micromobility policy for e-bike and e-scooter and other micromobility devices here in Holliston. We had a good conversation. Out of that came an update that they're planning a bike rodeo on May 2nd. So we're still talking about the policy to get it right, but would like to have it in time for May, when the bike rodeo is being held. So early May, having a policy that this board's going to review ahead of time on the use of micromobility devices around town and some considerations and changes to our traffic rules and orders. So that is still an ongoing policy development. And then last week, I can't believe it was over vacation week, but I was able to meet with 2 of the school committee members for the working group to discuss the school building committee. We had a very productive, very early conversation about just some general ideas that we would like the school building committee to take up once we formalize the charge and its membership. And I asked the school committee members there to take it back to their meeting. I think they're meeting tomorrow night. And see if maybe they wanted to consider a straw vote on whether we would look for feasibility funding in May or October. There are pros and cons to everything, of course, and so there was a little bit of conversation, but I hope to get more feedback from the full school committee on what they're feeling about when that feasibility funding request should be made. And I did let them know that you had put an article on for the school committee to present to town meeting in May, and the general feeling in the room, and I'm paraphrasing here and also now speaking for those 2 school committee members, but I think they're okay with this. I told them that I'd be updating my board. I think the general thought is that presentation starts to talk about a feasibility funding article in October. That is one strong idea. So not go for feasibility funding in May, but use the time to present to town meeting to share where we're going with all this. That is just one approach. They're going to get some feedback from their full committee tomorrow night, I hope.
My understanding is I hadn't heard October in any of my conversations with anybody. Not to say that October isn't isn't an option, but my expectation personally is May, that we would have an article in May.
I think it's very much on the table. Sure.
Yeah,
I think they're both on the table.
I think it's looking, to see funding, to determine if the funding is there to try to get it out there, because the language is mandated by the state. So.
Okay. Those are my updates, and then my request is, could we get on a future agenda, or talk about it under other business at the end of this meeting, talk about the 250th this July, and sort of corralling efforts that are ongoing, and talking about where maybe the town wants to step in and do something for the 250th.
I think it'd probably be best to be an agenda item.
Sure.
Because then we can have an opportunity to sort of ponder and sort of see, solicit ideas and things like that. I've heard a few things bandied about.
Right.
I think that might be a good.
Okay.
That's how I would want to handle that.
I like that. Thank you.
Okay.
All set.
Damon?
A couple of things. So I've been just reflecting on the fact that, as we have heard a lot of different issues in town about the difficulties for various organizations and businesses, the difficulties they face in kind of just going through normal procedures, even though we have excellent staff that really helps people through those processes. On my mind a lot is just the steps for licensing and events-related approvals, sometimes multiple boards and committees and departments that people have to be in contact with. I think right now we do a pretty good job trying to funnel those through through Frank and the staff. but I have sent a very early speculative letter to Frank with a proposal of how we might make this more into a one-stop shop. It's something that's just, it's very oblique at this point, not very well defined. I'm going to look into that a little bit more, and I believe, Frank, if you don't mind me saying, Frank sent it to council for some advice, which I think is good. I don't have like a proposal at this point, and it's probably premature to speak about the specific idea, but suffice it to say, it addresses kind of the problem that we have as a select board being both quasi-judicial as well as policy, which puts us in a position where, as a granting authority, we are actually encumbered from speaking about some of the things that we are technically supposed to be encumbered from speaking about some of the things that we would actually judge, even though those policy points are ones that we were elected to address, putting us in an unusual position where, as elected policy heads, we are actually some of the least free to speak about the positions that we have on various policies. So sorry, that's 10,000-foot view. That will get more concrete, and I just want to give you a heads up that I'll be navigating that, and then when we have something concrete from council, I'll share with the board for discussion, obviously. That's one. I also wanted to just point out, I'm sure that we're all paying attention to social media more than we want to. Last couple of days have been a tremendous dig out from the snow, and I think our staff has done a pretty darn remarkable job getting us out of truly record-breaking levels. That being said, obviously there's a lot of folks who are unhappy with the level of service. Lots of things are happening, trucks are breaking down, people that we contract aren't coming up to speed, et cetera. But I think all in all, considering that we just had truly a historic level of snow, we're in a pretty good spot, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for everyone's efforts. We can always do better, but it's amazing how quickly we reacted to that and how well. And then finally, I think we talked a little bit about DEI initiatives. I think that from a policy point of view, it's something for us to be aware of, especially when people are really reactive to what's going on in the town. I'll use the snow as an example. I've heard people talk about, hey, should we be a little bit more stronger on having a policy that, for instance, folks should be clearing their sidewalks as a matter of law. And I think that that's an interesting thing to discuss. But there itself, we have an interesting DEI lens. I'll just use it as an example, right? An elderly person would have a tough time doing that. A person who doesn't have money would have a tough time doing that. Do we actually have the wherewithal as a town to want to impose that with all the encumbrances that creates for those who may not be extremely fit, extremely wealthy, and have the time on their hands? That's just kind of an example, and I'm very much looking forward to the Policy Advisory Committee providing some guidelines for people to think about those things going forward. What I want to make sure that we don't lose focus on is the fact that that advisory committee, from my point of view, should be coming back to us and to the town itself with helpful ways to think about things, and I know that they're very early yet, but it's one of those things where I don't want to do a set it and forget it. I hope we continue to engage with that committee and hear a lot about their ideas, but also push back where appropriate if they miss anything that's, yes?
Oh, I was just going to say, the town of Dedham has I believe they have a bylaw or a policy that requires residents to shovel. They complement that with a Snow Angels program.
I like that.
And the DPW in the town of Dedham, as this one example, they're tasked with promoting the Snow Angel program so that you can kind of, I do hear there are challenges to it, but there are ways in which you can be creative. But we've had the conversation here about requiring residents to plow the shovel the driveway, the sidewalk in front of their
Fire
house.
hydrants. Fire hydrants too.
Yeah.
Adopt a fire hydrant.
Yeah. I mean, just talking obliquely about it, we're very extemporaneous here, but I think it's one of those things that seems like a really good idea, and then when you start to think about a person who happens to be on a property where we decide to put a sidewalk next to it, and they didn't have any say in that, but now they must clear that sidewalk. Or a person who has a large tract of land with an enormous amount that would need to be cleared, and maybe they're elderly and don't have a ton of money, so then what? And those are like the little things that, through policy we can get creative and say that there are certain exclusions and caveats, and it's just something to be mindful of. I would benefit from it greatly, so I would love to have my sidewalk areas cleared because I have a dog that I have to walk in right now. I'm in the middle of the street. But it's just an example of kind of like thoughtfulness in policy that I think we need to make sure we're serving the entire community, whereas we will probably hear from the more affluent and the more engaged people who will necessarily be in a Venn diagram of certain demographics that won't be the norm of the town. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
In a very long-winded way, which is my brand. Apologies.
It's all good.
Yep.
Okay. I don't really have too many updates. I think the only one I would mention is Envisioning Future Holliston met last week? It was last week. And there is a call to, for the planning board to review it's like a master plan revision bylaw. It's not really clear how it goes from there, but because it involves the planning board doing something, they're the first stop. And just wanted to make you aware that it could be something coming down the pipe very soon, but it's not necessarily there yet. And basically what it would do is it would tell the planning board that every few years they have to do some rudimentary review and updating of the master plan, and every few years after that actually do formal changes and updates to the master plan. So like it's like a 5 and 10. I believe it's based on Dedham's language, if I remember correctly, since we're in Dedham. And that's really the only update that I have at this time. And now I think we can move on to annual town meeting, budget updates. We have potential to do a few departmental budgets. We had put this on there to sort of like help the finance committee for a Tuesday meeting, which now that it's Wednesday, it's sort of kind of a cow's opinion. It's a moot point. And friends, Joe? No? Anybody? Okay.
I was with you.
I knew
Okay.
it.
Okay. All right. So I'll ask, is there an appetite to go through these and do these now? Or do we want to wait till Saturday when we have our big summit? What do you guys think?
My only consideration is time. I know that we might have, we might want to catch up a little bit after this, so I'm going to be up for a while anyway, so don't worry about me, but if you all would like to expedite the conversation, we're happy to move these to Saturday.
What do you guys think?
I don't think I'll get any value out of this discussion without some folks from finance there, so I'm okay moving it.
What do you think?
Whatever Damon just said.
Said Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we can move it to Saturday. We're still on for Saturday.
Yep.
For, was it 9:30?
Yep.
And we'll go through all of our departmental budgets, go through that exercise. We've done that a couple of years in a row. I have invited the finance committee to view. I have felt that it's unfair to department heads to have to go to us and make a presentation and then give the exact same presentation to the finance committee. I feel that's a kind of a waste of everyone's time. So trying to find ways to do some of those things and try to make things a little bit easier, especially on the smaller budgets that are a little less, there's a little less involved. I mean, these are perfect examples of ones that are pretty basic, pretty simple to go through. There's usually one, maybe two lines, pretty straightforward. And so the expectation is on Saturday, we'll go through all those things. There might be, I think the standard questions that I have and that I would hope that every department head would answer would be, it changed? What changed? Why is this changing? And that's, I think all we really, the main crux of what we want to see is to understand, what is the source of the changes, and because we don't need to go through every line to do everything for every budget, just to think about it ahead so that way we can talk about those things and then have, what are their initiatives, what are the things that they're looking for, trying to do, anything that, need to haves, what is the opportunity, what kinds of things do we want to talk through from that exercise. And I think, Frank, are you prepared to have a town manager budget the end of this week, or are you?
Yep.
So you would kind of, as part of the conversation on Saturday, you would present your budget to us. Okay.
Yep. And so I'm hopeful that you'll have that probably by tomorrow.
Okay.
You might not have all the appendices, but you'll have all of the have the meat and potatoes of it.
Okay. Okay, and that'll include like the write-up and things like that? Okay. And yeah, so that'll be good. We can review that and then share that, and then that can go to the, once we've looked at it and talked about it, we
Mhm.
can share it with the finance committee, and what the priorities are. One of the things that I'd like us to do as part of this exercise, not this week, but when we get to doing our budget, is to sort of outline like where our priorities are and things like that, and I would like to be able to have the opportunity to present what we're doing, what we're thinking to the finance committee. I see other departments, particularly the schools, being able to do that, and I think it's important for us to have that opportunity, and I had spoken to the chair, and he was very open to my doing that, and I think that that's something, so I'd like to sort of, when we get, that's still a few weeks away, but when we get towards that point where we're starting to do our budget, we can start to put something together, we can say that this is the things that matter to us, and this is why we want to see this budget this
Mhm.
way, as a matter of course.
You see that as a change in practice moving forward?
Potentially.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that some of these are just norms, just based on like how we do things.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily, I think it's a good idea, but I would never want to put somebody in a position where like, you have to do this.
Okay.
But I'm offering to do it, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Two thoughts, questions. First, I've reached out to a lot of the department heads for the budget, for the liaison that I'm assigned, just to say, if there's anything to talk about, I'm available. But I'm not hearing back that there's any need, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable going into it. But in terms of the level 2 budget, Frank, I believe the last time we heard you present on where we were in terms of departmental requests and where we were projecting revenue to be, there was like maybe a $650,000, was it 900? I'm blanking on the number exactly.
So at the time,
Yeah.
the requests were about 930,000. The projected availability of funds, whatever you want to call that, was somewhere between 650 and 750.
Yep.
We came in just above 750.
Okay,
So that's good.
okay.
Still, obviously, a big difference between 750 and 930,000. And a lot of that 930,000, a lot of those weren't nice to haves. They were step increases, collective bargaining agreements, regional dispatch assessments, that type of stuff.
Are you letting your department heads know in your level 2 what changes that you'll be making ahead of them coming in for their budget hearing?
Yes.
Okay, so
Most of
when
them,
we-
I think, at this point I've had sort of one-on-one conversations with
Okay.
them about where they'll expect to see things.
Okay, so when we get it from you, we'll know that all the department heads who are affected by changes that you've made in the level 2 are aware and notified. Okay, and then last question, GIC, March, it's March, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they are, but it's funny, Cheryl and I were talking this morning, we apparently.
GIC is the insurance company for our health
Yes.
insurance
Yep,
for
group
our
insurance
Yeah,
employees.
I saw something in the Globe about it.
Oh, really?
I think it was the Globe. They were talking
Interesting.
a little bit about that there was like a protest, but then they backed off. I
So,
don't know exactly what was going on there.
Cheryl and I apparently, we were funny joking about it this morning because we've both apparently been stalking their website because
Yes.
they were supposed to have a meeting tomorrow, which they are, but they didn't post it until right up against the deadline. At their last meeting, the Group Insurance Commission were charged with, scheduled anyway, to vote on plan design changes that would influence their final rates that they were supposed to approve tomorrow. They at that meeting, as soon as the meeting started, there was a motion, maybe 10 minutes into the meeting, there was a motion to basically postpone everything until there was more time for the GIC staff to come up with basically some data-backed impact analysis of what the different plan design changes would mean for those that are covered through the GIC. I will say that the GIC staff, I think, somewhat appropriately pushed back and said, you might be asking for X, but I don't know if 2 weeks is going to get you X. In fact, I don't know what you could ask for in 3 weeks, and I don't even know what I could get you in 3 weeks. And they're also running up against open enrollment, which begins on April 1st. Is it April 1st?
Yes.
Yeah, April 1st.
That's right.
So tomorrow, the plan is for them to vote on the plan design changes. Again, that was their plan at the last meeting.
Okay.
But they have not yet announced when they would actually vote on the premium rate increases or the premiums for fiscal
And
year
that won't be
27.
happening tomorrow?
No,
Yeah.
that was not on their agenda. So
Maybe reading some tea leaves, though, we'll
Right.
get an indication.
Once they determine the plan changes that are approved, then they can go and calculate the rates, but it's dependent on the rate changes, so
Yeah.
that means, it tells me they might not be confident on what, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest variable from the town's budget perspective, was what that GIC number was gonna be.
Yeah, because, you know, the range, usually they start the budget process with, okay, the premium increases are gonna be somewhere between this number and that number. And by the time we get to February,
4 to like 12%.
Yes.
It was like kind of absurd.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
range.
So right now, and so usually by the time, so that's in December. By the time we get to February, they're usually like, no, these are gonna be the rates.
Right.
But we're still.
Because
in
there's
the
that
four-
one thing that they're trying to figure
Right.
out, and that's a big.
Oh,
The big,
the,
the big question is the
GLP,
GLP.
GLP-1s, yeah.
Right.
Are they going to cover them?
it's like
And-
lipids, but that's not the right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's a huge, could be potentially big.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there are other small things. I know there's a couple things, important things too, like
Mhm.
with hearing aid coverage
Yep,
and
hearing
a
aid
couple of
coverage,
you know
some
increasing
copay
copays
changes,
for
yeah.
surviving spouses and things like that. But the biggest financial
GLP-1s.
piece is the GLP-1s.
And they haven't figured that out.
And I think that's, you know, some of the commissioners spoke to, or, spoke to a lot of the feedback that they had heard from, folks who are covered through the GIC, and I think they wanted some more time to talk to those people as well. I think they said they got over 500 emails
Yeah.
about,
Protesting.
some of the decisions that could be made.
Okay.
So we'll have to see how tomorrow goes, and,
Okay. We'll take it as it comes.
yeah. But to your point, Ben, though, it's like, it's not like it's 4% or 5%. It's a substantial swing. So I think you'll find what I end up sending to you takes a pretty defensive stance just to protect the town, but I'm hopeful that the number will come down and, we'll be granted some additional flexibility.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments about the?
No, none from the budget. Do you want me to run through the warrant article list as it stands quickly?
Yeah, just let us know if there's any changes to what we've seen previously.
Yeah, the only,
That's probably the thing.
okay, so the only thing that I think I have, there's a couple that I think we've taken off.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't share.
That's okay.
We're like trained monkeys. We're like watching him and then we're watching the screen, watching him, like, put it up on the screen, like, we know where to look at us.
Okay.
Okay, so, I'll just run to the top. We're sticking with the three reports at the beginning of the meeting: Select Board, Finance Committee, and
Yep.
School Committee. Then we have the consent agenda items. The Board of Assessors had submitted a number of exemption and tax deferral program, or new programs. These would not be
Gotcha.
basically a re-upping of previous exemptions.
Yeah, usually if we're re-upping, they can go in consent agenda, but if they're changes,
Mhm.
material changes, or if they're new, then we would want to have.
All of these
Conversation.
other items, I think we had discussed previously. Oops, sorry, my mouse is messing up. Okay, so, I caught up with the town clerk about the elected to appointed transition, and I think that we have some additional time that we could
Okay.
take on that one, especially given everything that's coming up in the spring. I think that it's not exactly time sensitive, so for now, I've pegged that one as delayed to the fall.
Okay.
And then the other one that we've crossed off here is taking a look at accrual for sick time, sick and vacation time for employees who work less than 19 hours.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be a relatively straightforward fix. There's some other pieces it's definitely a thing that we need to do.
Okay.
But solving it between now and May is probably not the best approach.
Yeah.
But Cheryl and I have talked about it at length, so we'll definitely be back in the fall for them. But again, I think, as we were talking about with the wellhead protection bylaw, it's better just to do it once as opposed to
Yeah.
doing it and then going back to fix it.
Right.
So that brings me to the wellhead protection bylaw, which it seems like the
Yeah.
consensus was to wait till
Yeah, I
fall.
think probably it's best to wait until fall.
Okay.
With that one. It sounds like they're not ready, and if they don't have anything to talk about yet, it doesn't make a lot of sense to.
Okay. One that has been added since we last met is a Jasper Hill open space purchase.
Okay.
So if you'll recall, this was actually an item that was on the CPC's radar going into last fall.
Yeah.
The town's purchase of that property fell through. A new owner has come, we actually met with him a number of months ago.
Yep.
that property owner and the Open Space Committee are in discussions about selling off portions of the property to the town.
Okay.
So I heard from Lixie Carey on that, so that is, that one's on here. It's perfectly, as we did last time, perfectly reasonable, I think, to slide that into the CPC article, should they use CPC funds, but
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think there's been a decision yet. on-
I think I think the reason we did things like with Goodwill Park is the size of the project was substantial, so we separated because it was over $1 million.
Mhm.
But if it's a, you know, a reasonably priced amount, I would imagine it would go into the CPC article.
Yeah. And I actually don't know if they're, I don't know I think the price tag is gonna be significantly less than
Yeah.
the fall ask. So I don't know if Open Space is planning on just using their trust funds to purchase this, if they're gonna go to CPC, but it's on here for now.
Does the CPC have anything in the pipeline for this town meeting?
They have a lot going on. The bike park is gonna be the big one.
That was the run, yeah?
I don't think we'll be hearing from FOWL at this point, the
Okay.
Lake Winthrop initiative. But I expect there'll be a number of things on CPC, probably a couple smaller things, but I think that the bike park piece is gonna be the big one. I know the Conservation Commission will be going to them for funds for a trail study. That was the item that we had talked about, where there was a
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
different groups looking for the same pot of money.
Yep. Okay,
But yeah,
okay,
and I believe CPC already started meeting, I wanna say in mid-January.
okay.
I think their applications were due January 16th.
Alrighty.
But that's all I have for the warrant.
Okay. Any questions from the board about the warrant or
That's that.
comments?
Thank you.
Yep, so we just, we'll remove the wellhead protection at this point, and clerk go into the fall. That'll be fine to put it off till then.
Okay.
All right,
We'll
any
put off
other
those budgets.
budget comments, thoughts before we move on to the?
No. Like I said, Cheryl and I will be tuning in to the GIC meeting tomorrow. We'll be meeting here on Saturday, and then the Finance Committee they took a break last week. They took a break this week because of the timing snafu with the snow.
Yep.
And then
Okay.
they'll pick up again next week.
Yeah, my intention is after the summit to talk to the chair a little bit, sort of figure out how to make this a little more streamlined between our two boards with some of these processes.
Sure.
So that's ongoing. All right, moving on. All right, so next we have discussion and potential revision to October 27th, 2025 meeting minutes. So we had a call to change the meeting minutes based on our motion. I guess the individuals felt that the motion in the minutes was not reflective accurately of the actual motion that was made. I have the exact language of the motion.
Yeah, where are you finding that, by the way?
It's complicated.
You
I got
read
the
it then?
transcript.
Okay.
I was about to read it, yeah.
Okay.
So what I did is I had access to the actual Zoom transcript, so I could go in and see it, and I had to actually tweak it because there was, Zoom catches weird things and stuff, so I actually went to the video and listened to it and caught it. So what I have is the exact language of the motion was, vote to grant the amendment to the premises as presented tonight for B Social's application for an alcohol license and continue to hold the license in escrow until full compliance with zoning through the special permit and site plan process. That's what I had as the language. Does that jive with?
Has truth in this. This is a long time ago.
It is. That's why I went to the,
Yep.
as close to the source as I could. We could, I have no issue with amending our minutes to reflect that, to change the motion of that in that particular part of the minutes from October 27th to reflect that language. Are you both comfortable with doing that?
This is fine.
Okay.
Thank you, yeah.
All right. I'll take a motion, just so you can say.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we can, Frank, I had sent this to you on February 10th,
Mhm.
so you have the exact language, so you can just,
I'll get it to Peg and then,
get that to Peg, and she can amend it, and then, we can have the clerk update the minutes on the.
and I will follow up with the resident
Okay.
tomorrow as well, just to confirm.
Sounds good, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, moving on
I don't think we have any high school project MSBA updates. I mean, you shared a little bit about the preliminary conversations with, about the SBC.
We plan to meet again, the working group plans to meet again on March 4th.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. I heard it was, is it Frank and Hillary? Did I hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, appreciate you doing that. And then, is the timeline still like end of March having something?
We didn't actually get into the details
It's
to
okay.
that
It's just-
level. I think March 4th, so if there are particular things that you would like the working group to really focus on, that'd be good to hear. But it was really a kind of meet and greet and
Sure.
laying the groundwork. We didn't get into
Okay.
real specific information,
Okay.
so.
Great. Any updates from, I don't think there's really anything happening right now. I think that's about the extent of it right there.
Mhm.
Although I did hear there was some challenges at the
Yeah,
actual
I was
building
gonna say, we have a
today,
high school
which
update,
We may need a
new high school update.
kind of justifies our very inclusion in this project. So if nothing else, I mean, we put this, full disclosure, we put this MSBA updates on our agenda, similar to annual town meeting and budget updates. There may or may not be our actual updates, but just having that as a sort of a standing agenda item for the time being, because sometimes things can happen very quickly, and just being able to have a space to have a conversation about it if we need to. Not taking votes or anything like that. We'll move on. Warrants.
Warrants, okay, since we last met, we had a warrant on February 9th, actually, so this must have been around the day we met, in an amount of $2,837,558.45, and on February the 17th, $1,798,047.48.
Wonderful.
Couple of the updates, if you don't mind.
Please.
Perfect. All right, so as Damon mentioned and others, I just want to begin tonight by thanking not only our DPW, but also our residents for their patience during this week's storm. Cleanup efforts continue, and the DPW will conduct large-scale snow removal operations on Friday evening. You can continue to please feel free to contact the town manager's office with any concerns. And again, we appreciate everyone's patience. As a reminder, trash and recycling is delayed only one day. And if there are issues with your E.L. Harvey pickup, please contact the town manager's office, and we will be happy to coordinate. We know there's been a couple issues out there spread about town, so we're happy to assist there and follow up with E.L. Harvey as needed. We are excited to invite residents to our Climate Action Plan update and Q&A session on Monday, March 2nd at 7 p.m. at Town Hall in this room or virtually. Learn about the progress we've made, what's coming next, and how you can help shape a low-carbon, resilient future for our community. This is a great opportunity to ask questions, share ideas, and get involved. For more information on the Climate Action Plan or other sustainability initiatives, please visit the town's website. You can find it under Departments and Sustainability.
I will be there for that on Monday night.
The town is also hiring a number of positions, including an outreach coordinator role at the center, DPW foreman, and part-time crossing guard. Please feel free to visit the HR section of the town's website or call 508-474-3335 to learn more about these roles and other opportunities. Looking ahead to just some of the public meetings on the calendar in the coming weeks, the Planning Board meets tomorrow, February 26th. The Finance Committee will resume their meetings next week on Tuesday, March 3rd. The ZBA met last night and voted to continue their hearing on 194 Lowland Street until March 24th. Peer review is expected to begin on that project shortly, so I'm assuming that by the time they meet next, we'll hear more on that project. Did someone have a question? Oh, my bad, never mind, okay. The Select Board will actually meet this coming Saturday, beginning at 9:30 for their annual budget hearing, and we'll meet again on March 9th to take up regular business. At that meeting, we will also be joined by Senate President Spilka and Representative James Arena DeRosa. Both the School Committee and Finance Committee have been invited to join as well. As a reminder, at that meeting, the date of that meeting, March 9th, is the date the warrant is scheduled to close. Nomination papers for elected office are due March 31st. Town meeting is May 11th, and May 19th is the town election. Just a quick plug for the Town Hall Digest. If you missed the February 9th Select Board meeting, I'd strongly encourage you to check out that meeting's edition. Important updates on the DPW project were shared along with the fiscal year 27 water rate hearing. That is the town manager's update for February 25th. The select board will meet again this coming Saturday, February 28th, to discuss the fiscal year 27 budget.
Any questions for the town manager?
Is the agenda posted for the 28th?
It is.
Okay.
Great. And one request for the recording, if we could just, if possible, try to timestamp when everybody was presenting within there, so that way, if, particularly with our finance committee friends, if they want to go back and see what the presentation looks like, they could go, oh, okay, and I can go straight to that particular timestamp.
Okay.
Thank you. Great. All right. Board business. We have a robust consent agenda. Does anyone have any objections to approving all of the items in a consent agenda?
One comment, not an objection, that we pull out 11H and that we amend the agenda for 228 to add a vote for the annual calendar for flying flags in Blair Square. We have done that in prior years since adopting the flag policy, I believe twice now, 24 and 25. We've established an annual calendar that incorporates 5 flags to be flown on a schedule in Blair
Yeah.
Square. So my suggestion would be that we pull out H and add it to that calendar and vote that calendar on 228. It doesn't change anything, it just formalizes.
Why don't we approve this and then just approve the calendar? We can do both. couldn't
This, only because the policy says we will each year
we? Okay.
vote
If we
on
do-
an
all right.
annual calendar.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we can do that.
I understand the time, it's coming up fast, I know we want to get it done, that's why maybe it's an opportunity on Saturday to just add it to the agenda.
Yeah, we can do it
Doesn't
first
delay
thing.
anything.
We can
and
do it
then-
first thing and
Yeah.
then have it. Okay.
Okay. I will send you a draft that we
Okay.
use for 24 and 25, and then
Okay.
you've got the 5 calendars.
All right, we'll pull H out and do
5
that. That's
flags.
fine.
Thank you,
All right.
appreciate that, okay.
And then we can approve all the other items except for H.
Okay, move to approve the consent agenda as listed, with the exception of 11H being withdrawn from the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I would just add that there's no objection from this board for H, just we're doing it in a slightly different way.
Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, other business. Tina?
There was one, it's gone, so moving on.
Cheryl, any other business? Okay.
I
David?
meandered enough previously.
Okay. Frank?
I am all good, thank you.
I have no other business. I will take a motion to go into executive session for reason to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. I declare. All right, I'll take a motion to enter executive session.
So moved,
Seconded?
All right, it's a roll call vote. Tina?
yes.
Damon?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so we are in executive session. We will not be returning to open session at the conclusion of our executive session, so have a wonderful evening. And we will see you on the 28th if you are brave and ambitious to sit with us for budgets.
Recording stopped.
Okay. Good night.